Hello, are you out there? I'm Mark with Homebrew Fever Dreams, and we are getting into part 2 of the Selemite sub, well, not sub, full class, complete with about a dozen new spells available to several classes in the D&D world, and a whole bunch of boons and banes. And that's what we're going to get into today. We're saving the main class and the subclasses for the end, because without understanding some of these spells and these banes and boons, it's really hard to evaluate the Selemite class in general. So this is the original post here coming from skywantsanacc off of the r/homebrew fever dreams. If you want to find this Google Doc, you can jump in here, see it for yourself. It's worth the read through if you're really into high level, kind of super crunchy, complicated character classes. This is one you might want to check out. So let's go here. Now, I'm going to be looking at the Essence Boons and the Essence Banes. Now, these are specifically reserved for the Selemite class. They're kind of like spells, but they're powered essentially by sacrificing hit points of the Selemite class character. But I could see any DM using these as general curses and blessings, banes and boons, for characters, players, well, characters only, not players, monsters and NPCs within your game world. So definitely these are the kinds of things that hags would be able to generate due to their deeply magical nature from the Feywild. They could definitely tap into this stuff. But other player classes probably couldn't get into this, although maybe they could have a potion, potentially something like that they could get these off of. So let's jump into it. Here are the Essence Boons. If an Essence Boons has prerequisites, you must meet them to learn it. You can learn the boon at the same time that you meet its prerequisite. A level prerequisite refers to your level in this Selemite class. Now, the Blood Strider. So this is going to cost you a 1d6 hit points, meaning you roll the die and you lose that many hit points. It's one bonus action to utilize this boon, and you touch a willing creature, bestowing upon them an uncannily quick speed. Their movement speed is increased by 10 feet for 1 minute. So definitely one of the lower level, no level gate on that, but situational for sure. You know, Selemites do have a way to up sacrifice the banes and boons, well, the boons in particular, these gifts, to target more than just one willing creature in their party, up to a limited amount. So keep that in mind, that without burning more hit points, they could use up what's called their blood dice, which they have a very limited pool of, but they could affect 2 or 3 willing creatures with any of the boons we're talking about here. Banes, it's not that way. Here we go, Bolstered Fury. This is a level 7. Costs 3d10 hit points, and it's bonus action. One bonus action. You touch a willing creature, bolstering their strength significantly. The creature has bonus to melee attack rolls and damage rolls equal to your wisdom modifier, the Selemite's wisdom modifier, which at level 7 would be coming through at a +3, so +3 and +3. No, wait, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of proficiency. Wisdom, it's a wisdom-based class, so it's probably still going to be that +3, maybe a +4 range at level 7. The boon lasts for 2 rounds, so you get quite a bit of bang for the buck, and it's just a bonus action. Bear in mind, this is always costing the Selemite their actual hit points as they're playing. Crimson Sight costs 1d6 hit points, and it takes 1 action. You touch a willing creature, and their eyes glow and fester with a red hue. The target has dark vision for 10 minutes. Yeah, very situational, very useful. Empowered Physique? I'm thinking like Psyche? Hold on. Strength and Constitution. Physique, not Psyche. Sorry. Cost 1d8 hit points, 1 action. You touch a willing creature, empowering them with your siphoned blood. They gain a bonus to strength and constitution checks and saving throws that is equal to your wisdom modifier. This lasts for 1 minute. Again, totally situational. Now, the way the creators describe this is oftentimes by drawing bloodletting. If that's too grim for you, I'm sure you could simply uh, talk to your GM and have them equate the hit point loss as your life force loss, or blood loss, but as it's converted to energy or something, so that it's all internal. You don't see the messiness. But yes, the theme throughout here is blood sacrifice. It's pretty grim that way. But I think you could flower it up a bit if you wanted it to be cosmetically less questionable to some people in the group. But it's a huge theme, and it's a cool theme. Enhance Crimson Sight. So this is a play on Crimson Sight up here, which was Dark Vision for 10 minutes. Enhance Crimson Sight is going to require you to have Crimson Sight, the original, 7th level, and it costs 3d10 hit points, 1 action. You touch a willing creature and their eyes glow and fester with the red hue. The target has dark vision and can see through magical darkness for up to 10 minutes. Requires concentration. Concentration from the Selemite, not concentration from the willing creature, obviously. Equivalent Exchange. 7th level. This is right out of Full Metal Alchemist, right? Equivalent Exchange. Blood Alchemy. 1d6 hit points, 1 reaction. You may redirect half the damage dealt, rounded down, from a creature within 30 feet to damage you instead. So a creature is attacking you, they hit, they're dealing damage, you make the reaction. You take half the damage rounded down, and... Oh, no. This is... I take that back. This is if another creature not you is taking damage within 30 feet of you. Yes, this is dividing the damage between you. It's not a reflection back, but you could obviously reflect it back on the attacker. So this is situational. Yeah, let's read it again. You may redirect half the damage dealt, rounded down, from a creature within 30 feet of you to damage you instead. Dealt from a creature. To a creature, let's say, just, I always try and critique as I'm reading here. I would say, you may redirect half the damage dealt, rounded down, dealt to a creature within 30 feet to damage you instead. From to, the attack automatically hits you and the damage cannot be reduced by any means. So essentially, someone else out there is getting hit with this damage. They're taking it. You're then going to take half, and you're going to take it. The other person taking that initial chunk of damage will say 30. They take 15. You take 15. Yeah. So it's essentially like helping to tank. Yeah, put you kind of at the front line, or maybe behind the front line. Very situational. Bear in mind that it is costing you that 3.5 hit points, that 1d6 damage. So that's why that's so low here, is because you are going to take damage no matter what. And the whole idea with all this magical power is that it always costs something of the Selemite. Yeah. Knowledge of the Woad. So we deal with what's called the Wheel and the Woad cycle here in the Selemite class quite a bit. I should have read up on it more. I think we've all probably heard of Wheel and Woad, but I think it's probably like a Northern European mythos. I could be wrong, but I think that's where it comes from. But it has to do with pretty heavily tied into fate, and I think it's very much like a balance thing. But I could be wrong. I probably shouldn't talk out of my ass, but something to look into more. I always find with role-playing games, you stand to learn so much about our real world and how things work, odd measurements, historical things, mythical things. Look it up. Find out a bit more about the real worlds you live in, because the Wheel and the Woad come from some culture, some society in the past. I have no doubt of that. But here we go. Knowledge of the Woad. Prerequisite. Teachings of the Woad. 12th level. Costs 5d10 hit points, 1 action. This is a pretty beefy one. This is going to cost you big. You touch a willing creature, and they can add your wisdom modifier to all skills that you have proficiency or expertise in for up to 1 minute, requiring concentration from you. Again, super situational. You would not probably use this in combat, but I think of it like if you're trying to scale a castle wall and you've got your allies with you, you have a very high athletics or acrobatics skill, but you know your clothy's not going to be able to do the same thing. And so you would potentially use this and maybe upcast it with blood dice to target 1, 2, or 3 of your comrades, the weaker ones, so that you all have a very good chance of stealthing, climbing that wall, something like that. Bluffing your way past the town guards. Let your life flow freely. Now, this is one I had a bit of trouble understanding. We're going to read it, and I'm hoping that OP wants a snack. Skywantsanacc may clarify this for us. Prerequisite 18th level. So this is kind of like a capstone type of boon. Cost 18 D12 hit points. It's a boatload. Rolled poorly, this could outright kill a character, even an 18th level character, right? Depending on what their constitution's coming in at. Although I think the hit points are based off of wisdom, not con, in the Selemite class. We'll get to that another day here, folks. One action. You touch a willing creature, you call forth the soul of that creature to temporarily gain a mortal form and ravage the battlefield before you. The soul of the creature gains a mortal form. So the creature has a mortal form, presumably. Their soul leaves their body and becomes a corporeal, combat-ready form. All right, now, you cast Time Stop on the creature at will from the blood sacrifice here without expending any hit dice. So that's what I'm not quite clear on. You have a significant cost here, but when you cast a Time Stop, you don't expend the hit dice? I'm not clear on that at all. Now, once the Bane's effects ends, the creature gains 2 levels of exhaustion. So the trade-off there, I would have to say, is that the creature is giving up some of their life force in the form of 2 levels of exhaustion. And that's the exchange, the equivalent exchange for that level of power. One other thing I would like to point out to skywantsanacc, Time Stop specifically, I did read it, and I don't have all this memorized, folks. I had to pre-read this in particular, the whole dang class, and some of the spells. Doesn't allow you to affect other creatures in combat, right? So this ravage the battlefield, I don't know that that's the case, because you're essentially going to use the Time Stop spell in italics, right? Italics, yeah. It's going to affect this creature. Their souls now has a mortal form on the battlefield, but they can't just go around smacking dudes down. It's going to break the Time Stop. So I think it's a cool spell. Time Stop's extremely high level. I even can understand that maybe this 18d12 hit point cost is used as a scaler. Maybe there's some other features that work into those hit die. But the sacrifice is clearly coming at the 2 levels of exhaustion from the targeted creature. At least the way I'm reading it. So I'm not clear on the ravage the battlefield. I'm guessing on the soul of the creature gains a mortal form, right? Just the way you're describing it. I don't know that Time Stop would allow you to ravage a battlefield. I don't quite understand the not expending hit dice for the Selemite caster, because it has a hit point cost here. And that's it. I understand the rest of it. That was, and if anyone's wondering, a lot of the point of doing these critiques is to just bring an eye People are posting these to my subreddit r/homebrew fever dreams. Warrior button helps a little bit with putting stuff on there, but it is people saying like, "Hey, take a look at this. Think about it. Talk about it out loud. Let me hear it." Not a lot of people watch these videos, especially when they're like an hour long. Most people are just like they get it like a minute into it and they're like, "Nah, this isn't that entertaining." Well, it is if you think through it with me. That's the thing. If you want to get into the crunchiness and kind of break apart how D&D works and just role-playing games in general, and how things like flavor, balance, following the rules, imagination, creativity all come together to make role-play mechanics cool, then that's what we're doing here. So, at any rate, work on that one for me, please. That was the only one out of all the Banes and Boons where I was really like, huh? What? Most of the others are pretty tight. Liminal clairvoyance. I don't know what liminal means. Gosh, I've heard the word liminal in a philosophy book Chris, the guy who does the music for the channel, was like, "Hey, have you read this philosophy book?" And I read some of it, and we've done a little debate on it. But they talk about liminal. I've heard liminal in so many places, and I haven't looked it up because anyone who knows me knows that I don't believe in dictionaries. I don't think they're a thing, and I don't think words have meaning. But if anyone knows, they should let me know, please. Prerequisite 12th level, costs 4d12 hit points, 1 action. You touch a willing creature and they gain a +5 bonus to intelligence, insight checks, and wisdom perception checks. These count towards your passive insight and passive perception. I like that. In addition, they have true sight outward to 5 feet. Ooh. Ooh. How long? Dang it. We need a time on this. A minute? A lot of your other buffs like this seem to last a minute. I think that would be reasonable. But yeah, time on that. But I like the idea of the true sight is just what's around you. That you don't have true sight looking away. It is truly just, like you hold something up and you have true sight. You can see what it is, or if someone's talking to you. As you walk up to them, the illusion fades away. You realize the king is in fact a demon prince, and you're just like, you're like, my liege. You're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? I think that's a good one. I love it. Here we go. Selmetic Shell. This is one of the low-level beginner ones. 1d8 hit points, 1 bonus action. Choose a creature within 30 feet. The target has a +1 bonus to armor class for 1 minute. Simple, easy to use. Sixth Sense. Prerequisite. 7th level, costs 1d8 hit points, 1 action. You touch a willing creature, granting them advantage on all dexterity checks and saving throws for 1 minute. I think that's perfectly fine, not overpowered at all. Coming at 7th level, yeah. The hit point cost is low, but it's just dex checks and dex saving throws. Not all saving throws. Dex checks and dex saving throws. So that's why I don't think it's scaled out of power. But in general, the hit point cost isn't too high. Teachings of the Woad. Costs 1d8 hit points, 1 bonus action. You touch a willing creature and they can add your wisdom modifier to all charisma-based checks for up to 1 minute, requiring concentration from the Selemite. I'm not 100% sure. It seems like some of the wheels, the boons, take concentration and others don't. I'm not exactly clear on the logic. I'm not picking it apart that much, honestly, but maybe at each power level you have a couple that take concentration and some that don't. I certainly see ones that are meant to last a minute requiring some concentration. Maybe ones that are all mental based, like charisma, wisdom, and intelligence, or perception, like sights, hearing, take concentration. But ones that are physical, like meant for combat, like dex, strength, con, would not. thus allowing, meaning it's more for a combat situation. I could see balancing that way. So you're giving this boon to one of your allies in combat, but it frees up your concentration to do other things. I could see doing something like that. Yeah, I'm not thinking about that one too much. The tides of weal and woe stir. That's right. Think like a yin and a yang that way. I think is that like an Eastern way to look at the weal and the woe balance? Prerequisite 18th level, costs 12d12 hit points, 1 reaction. Choose a creature within 30 feet. The creature is under the effects of the Globe of Invulnerability spell until the start of their next turn. And this is a reaction on your part. When the Bane's effect ends, the target then has vulnerability to damage from spells until the start of their next turn. That's right. You get a little, you got to give a little. It's all the balancing. It's the flavor runs throughout the whole class and all these boons and banes. It's so well done. But yeah, absolutely. As a reaction, this is your Selemite making that blood sacrifice to preserve an ally in a moment that they would normally be obliterated. But then it's like you better have a solution because the next turn they're going to be vulnerable to spell damage. Watch out. Whispers of the Woad. I think this is our last boon here. Prerequisite 7th level, costs 3d10 hit points, 1 action. You touch a willing creature. The creature requires no verbal or semantic components to cast spells. This lasts up to 1 minute, requiring concentration from the Selemite, or until they cast a spell. So it's essentially going in knowing that they're going to need to be able to do magic without any somatic or verbal, right? So yeah. Secret spell casting for a minute. Totally situational. They only get the 1 spell, and of course the whole time the Selemite's having to concentrate on that spell themselves, just kind of standing. It's interesting. The Selemite I very much view as the guy or the girl who's behind the front ranks, maybe even behind the casters, right? They're like 15 feet back, from and they're just buffing and situationally being the chess master. So nicely done. So that was about 15 of the boons, and there's about 15 of the banes. This is going well. It's about 20 minutes here, so we'll hopefully get through the next set, and then that'll be this video. And then with any luck, knock on wood, the final video will be the class and subclasses. I don't know if I can get it all in one, though. We'll see, because I think there's 3 full subclasses. It takes a while. But yeah, we're getting there. Let's keep going. Here's our Essence Banes. Banes like a curse. Essence Banes function differently than boons, not just that they are primarily offensive, but also because if a creature succeeds on a save or is not hit by any of these Banes effects, not including if they are immune to the Bane's effect, though, you get a full refund on the hit points sacrificed. So you can certainly burn your action, your bonus action, and your reaction attempting to get these banes to take effect, but you can't lose the blood and not have it do something. That's the logic here. It's not like a cheat code, although it does make your hit points go a lot further. But it's essentially the idea of like, dang it, I made that sacrifice and nothing came out of it. Well, no, that it can't work that way. Something must come out of it if you're burning the blood. The blood is the mana powering these magical effects. So that's the logic there, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong, skywantsanacc. If an Essence Bane has a prerequisite, you must meet them to learn it. You can learn the Bane at the same time that you meet its prerequisite. A level prerequisite refers to your level in this class. Now, before I forget, for anyone who's wondering, the Selemite class will start out with essentially a boon and a bane number of spell slots that they can learn. Spells, boons and banes they can learn. Let's call it that. They're not spell slots. And I think they start like 0, 1, and then they go 1, 1, and then 1, 2, 2, 2, but all the way down. 4 4s is the max. So you'll never know more than 4 banes and 4 boons at a time at the highest levels. Now, every time you level, you may switch out one for like one bane for another bane that you could learn. So you can get rid of the weaker ones as you advance, but it's relatively limited. I know, and this is a whole lot of material to know, but you don't have to memorize all 30 of these to play the class. You're only going to be using realistically 4 of either type at the highest levels. Below level 10, I think it's at like 2 or maybe a 2-3. So you only need to know like 4 or 5 of these to play the class effectively, and then switching them out depending on how your players play the game. So just to give you an idea of how that works. Now, as far as slots, there are no slots. You may cast these Boons and Banes as many times as you have hit points. Bringing up an interesting little fact. Healing potions in D&D 5e with this class would equal mana potions. You can just glug, 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 get hit points back, and now you can take more damage. Because this is not costing hit die, it's hit points. You notice that the it's not saying like 3 of your Selemite hit dice. It's like sometimes it's a D8, sometimes it's a D10, sometimes it's a D6, sometimes it's a D12. So it's a mana potion cannot give you a hit die back, but these don't cost hit die. These cost hit points. So that would give you a reason to consume mana potions. And I think it has its own trade-off, especially if drinking a potion in your game. I would make this caveat or arrangement with your DM. Using a healing potion for the Selemite class, I would say would have to take an action in combat, right? Just so that you're not running around with a bag of 20 healing potions, you're using your action, and then maybe you could do a bonus action or a reaction. But there has to be some sort of downward pressure on unlimited spell casting, Boon and Bane casting, via the consumption of hit points. Well, money. I guess money would be that downward pressure. You can only afford so many potions. So, food for thought. That's part of the game balance RPG dynamic we're talking about, though. If you're still with me here and you're understanding why that's an interesting thing to think about when you're designing and balancing a game, then welcome to the Homebrew Review Club. That's what we're doing. Most people don't get this far in the video. But to me, it's like, yeah, this is my hobby. It's like, you're going to talk about one class and all of its effects for 2.5 hours? It's like, yeah, I am. Okay. Blood Clot. Prerequisite, 9th level. Costs 3d10 hit points. 1 bonus action. You force a creature's life force to crush inward from the effects of revitalization, leaving it mortally helpless. Choose a creature within 30 feet. The creature must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be paralyzed and take magical bludgeoning damage equal to hit points recovered for 1 minute. Constructs and undead automatically succeed on the save. The creature may repeat the saving throw at the end of each of their turns, ending itself on a success. Not super clear on that one. I'm assuming the bludgeoning damage they take is equal to the damage the Selemite took when they did the blood sacrifice. But that is not how this is reading. But otherwise, yeah, it's essentially you're going to do some bludgeoning damage. The creature's going to make a con save or be paralyzed. Yeah, that's cool. In 9th level, bonus action, yeah, that's pretty good. It's not about the damage so much as it is about the effective ability to paralyze. Blood Mist. Prerequisite, level 5, costs 3d8 hit points, 1 action. You explode a cloud of bloody mist in a 20-foot radius centered on you. The mist lightly obscures the targeted area. All creatures within the targeted area, excluding you, must make a Constitution saving throw or be blinded for 1 minute. Each creature must repeat the saving throw if they start their turn within the mist or enter the mist for the first time. A creature may repeat the saving throw at the end of each of their turns, ending the effect on themselves. Sorry, I gotta scroll back. Oh wow, did I miss it? Sorry, it's chunky. Success. The mist lasts for a number of rounds equal to your proficiency bonus. So yeah, this is an AoE blindness cloud, and anytime you enter into it, you've got to re-challenge it because it's like physically there. The bloody mist, it's physically in the air. Grasping Soul Bolt. level 5 Soulbolt Bane. So this is an upcast Soulbolt essentially, or the next level of it tier. Costs 1d8 hit points, 1 action. Make a ranged spell attack against a creature within 30 feet. On a hit, the target is dealt necrotic damage equal to the maximum roll on one of their hit dice. So if they're a d8 creature, they're going to just take 10 points. If they're a d8 creature, they just take 8 points. As a bonus action on each of your turns, you can sacrifice 1d8 more hit points to repeat the Bane's effect, requiring concentration from the caster for up to a minute. So essentially, once you get your claws on somebody with this, you've made that bridge. You can just keep tripping the necrotic damage. You're burning your d8, which could be anywhere from 1 to 8 points of damage to you, but they're guaranteed to max out their hit die. So against a creature with only a d6, might not be as effective, but against a creature with like a d10 or d12, you're going to get a lot of bang for the buck for that little bit of bonus action. Obviously, this would probably not be so useful at levels above 5 or 6, just because you're going to have better things to do with your bonus action at that point. Disorienting Infusion costs 1d10 hit points, a bonus action. Choose a creature within 30 feet. The target must succeed on a charisma saving throw or have disadvantage on the next attack roll they make. This effect lasts for up to 1 minute. So, are they going to make that charisma saving throw each of their turns? The effect, or is it just their next saving throw period? So you use this as a bonus action on a target. Say if the battle hasn't started yet. Okay, so reading it the way you've written it exactly, this effect will linger on them for a minute until they make the next attack roll, and then they will have that disadvantage if they fail the charisma saving throw. But yeah, that would be a really good way, possibly if you're trying to negotiate something, or you're doing a parlay, or you're trying to get an enemy to surrender, is doing this, and they just would know, or the Selemite could explain to them, you're not likely to hit on this next attack, and that I can see it working that way. The 1d10 hit points, significant. It's a lot. But I'm sure a lot of creatures you could use this again, you'd specifically target ones that you know to have a pretty low charisma. So it'd be likely to get through. All right. I think that one might be a little on the weak side, unless I'm not interpreting it right. Now, if for an entire minute, 10 rounds, they have to make that charisma saving throw over and over and over, then it's probably too powerful. So. Drain of Spirit costs 1d10 hit points, 1 action. Where are we at here? The target's will is brought into question when faced with indecisive odds. Choose a creature within 30 feet that is within 5 feet of one of your allies. The creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or suffer from 1 level of exhaustion and fall prone. This is no joke. I would say that you run the potential of being able to take out a BBEG with exhaustion alone. Now, granted, they get to make that wisdom saving throw. Obviously, this creature you're targeting has to be within 5 feet of one of your allies, so you can't just stand back like this. Someone's in mortal danger. Your ally is right there, melee range with the BBEG in this case. And you're essentially trying to punch through their wisdom saving throw over and over, knocking them down, but also giving them a level of exhaustion. But as we know, exhaustion is one of those odd things that can just outright kill you in the game, right? I don't know. Do you even get death saves if you are killed from like level 5 exhaustion? I don't even know. Like you just die. Like if you take that final take of exhaustion, your body just gives out. Is that how it works? Because relieving exhaustion is not easy to do. I think. What do you need? Is there a recovery spell or something? There's not much in the game that takes exhaustion away. So I would maybe make a note on here saying something along the lines of no more than 3 levels of exhaustion may be placed on a creature using the Drain Spirit spell, unless you intend for this to be Yeah, you use this 4 or 5 times, well, 5 times, creature's dead. It's a kill. Certainly not an insta-kill. And to last that long against a BBG is no joke. The first level of exhaustion is not really that important in a combat for most parts. Disadvantage on ability checks. Second level exhaustion, speed halved. So now it's starting to really affect them in combat. Third level, disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. So I would say if you cap this at max 3 levels of exhaustion and you spent 3 of your actions draining soul, draining spirit, and you got lucky, you would pretty well cripple that baddie at that point. Speed halved, disadvantage on attack and saving throws, yeah, they're donezo at that point. But if you keep going with it, at the 6th level of exhaustion, the effect is death. Yeah, it's an interesting way to kill somebody. Your decision on that. 6 levels, 6 times to kill somebody. That's a lot. I don't think it's overpowered. I don't think it's overpowered. But I think it could be abused. I mean, I guess every player with their characters trying to abuse the rules, right? They're trying to be creative. And obviously, the odds that a creature's going to fail 6, even 3 or 4 wisdom saves out of the first 3 or 4, probably not. They're probably going to pass 1 or 2 of those, maybe 3. So, I don't know. It's interesting. I would certainly use it. I would, if I was a Selemite player, I would have Drain Spirit. I'd be like, dude, you're going down. I'd just be in the back being like, pew pew. And they're like, oh. Yeah. This is one of the most interesting ones you've got. I mean, this is, to me, the most interesting one in the entire list. Is this one right here, Drain Spirit. Let's continue. We got to get this done. We're closing on 40 minutes. Horror is hidden within the blood. Only in silence do they speak. Prerequisite, 18th level. Blood Mist Bane. Prerequisite, Bane. Costs 12 D12 hit points, 1 action. Big chance for monster damage if you roll poorly on this. You form a dome of blood that protrudes in a 20-foot radius centered on you, so 40 feet across. The dome acts as an anti-magic field for spells of 5th level or lower for all creatures within. All creatures, excluding you, within the radius must succeed on a sanity saving throw, receiving psychic damage equal to your sanity score on a failed saving throw, or half as much damage on a success. The dome lasts until the start of your next turn, and any creature who enters the dome for the first time or starts their turn in the dome must succeed on the saving throw or be stunned until the start of your next turn. Now, we don't all play with sanity. I think many people don't. I would just make a little note in here saying if your game, if your GM doesn't use sanities, use wisdom instead. Because I think the idea of wisdom and sanity ties together pretty well. That would be my preference. But you should just specify a quick way to approximate sanity. Is just like, well, instead of you have an 11 in sanity. Like when you read the rules on insanity, it's kind of like, hey, you'd probably take a 10, 11 in that. Well, no. Just say wisdom if you're not going to use sanity. I like the flavor. I 100% do. But just say, yeah, substitute wisdom if you aren't playing with sanity. Cool? All right. You could even put that in at the very end here, like in little brackies, or after the sentence about the sanity saving throw. The trauma inflicted on the great woad by the use of this bane has left your mortal form momentarily scarred. After using this bane, you cannot recover hit points by magical means until you take a long rest. Ooh, no potions, no spells. You need to sleep it off before you can start regaining hit points magically again. Yeah, that's intense. I like it. Good effect. Good effect. Yeah, because this is like your capstone. It's like your oh shoot button. Intoxicating Essence. 1d8 hit points, 1 bonus action. Choose a creature within 30 feet. The target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be poisoned for 1 minute. The target may repeat the save at the end of each of its turns, ending the effects on itself on a success. hey, that's a great way to give disadvantage on attack rolls to an enemy. Uh, Low weight, it's obviously going to cost the caster a little bit. It's actually pretty powerful, but you got to figure a creature who's making melee attacks is going to be have some constitution, right? They're a fighter in most cases, so I don't think it's unfair, and because that poison doesn't affect like casters or anything, I don't think so. Um, I don't think so. DM screen. Let's just be sure. Let's just be sure. I want to make sure it's not overpowered. Is why I'm thinking about it. Disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. Okay, but that's still not a spellcaster. So eventually, they're probably not going to stay poisoned in 1 minute. Almost no one would. It would just never happen. But I could see for 2-3 rounds of combat them being poisoned. Yeah, it's a debuff. That's the point of it. That's a strong one. It's a good one. So that's like an A+ Bane essentially. I don't want to say it's overpowered, but it could be. If anyone has trouble with it, I would say limit it to last up to 3 turns. Yeah, just in case it's getting out of hand. Because it doesn't require concentration, so I can see a Selemite going like, "You're intoxicated. You're intoxicated. You're intoxicated," and then all the bad guys are just swinging haphazard, and the party just would chop them up quick. Yeah. Karmic Lash. Prerequisite 15th level, costs 60-12 hit points, 1 action. The fate of the woad stirs, and it remembers. You choose a creature within 30 feet who has made a successful attack between the end of your last turn and now. The creature and up to 3 additional creatures of your choice within 20 feet must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have their speed reduced to 0. As red strands protrude from your body and slam into theirs. At the start of each of the creature's turns, it takes 5d10 piercing damage and may repeat the saving throw for the movement, ending the effect on itself on a success. The Bane's effects may last for up to 1 minute, requiring concentration from the Selemite. So yeah, this is your big AoE. The idea is that you are paralyzing the opponents, up to 4 of them, in place around you, 20-foot radius. So the range isn't too great, but this is kind of like where, yeah, you're kind of reaching over the front lines again, 15 feet back. That's why I say you're always 15 feet back in my mind, and you're targeting 3 or 4 across that front line, and you're trying to freeze them, maybe letting your allies fall back, and you hold them for as long as possible as you hit them repeatedly with this blood-piercing damage. Because 5d10, that's about, about 25. So, bam, bam, bam. And obviously, eventually, they're going to break free from that 0, and they can still do other things. Their movement reduced to 0 doesn't mean that they can't do their own potion or continue to melee fight or pull out a ranged weapon or cast a spell. So they're not helpless. It's just holding them as they're taking that damage, but they're not paralyzed. So strong, good flavor, definitely not overpowered. I like this one. And at 15th level, yeah, this is totally appropriate. So very nicely done. All right, are there any more? I think just 1 or 2 more. We're almost there, folks. Karmic Reversal. Prerequisites. 9th level. Costs 3d8 hit points, 1 reaction. The wounds dealt by your attacker come back to haunt them. When a creature makes a successful attack against you, you only receive half the damage dealt by the attack rounded down, and the attacker must succeed on a dex saving throw or receive the other half of the damage dealt. This Bane has no effect on area of effect abilities such as Fireball or Dragon's Breath. Yes, it's very common. Good touch there. Oh shoot, you guys can't read that. I'm sorry. I'm glad I noticed. It only pertains to attacks where the damage dealt is rolled, so no flat damage effects. So I think this is underpowered. I don't usually say that, but I think that 3d8 hit point cost is too little. Is too much. you're going to take half the damage, and you get to bounce half the damage back. But what, and I guess that's my problem, is that had you not done anything, you would have just taken the full damage. And most of these, as a reaction, you should specify that you may choose to do this as a reaction after the damage has been rolled. So I think that's a really cool way to do it. So that if you take 38 points of critical damage and you're like, holy, then you want to use this. But even with a big hit, sorry, let's do 40. Let's just say 40, right? 20. You're like, I want to save that 20 points. But when you roll that 3d8, that's going to hit it at 12 or 13 on average. Well, that's most of the damage back again. So now, granted, it has the benefit of you're shooting that 20 damage back in the enemy that they weren't going to take. But you're going to take 20 plus the 12, say from the average roll. So you're taking 32 in dealing 20. Versus you just taking 40 and the enemy getting nothing. So, it's just the fact that you're taking half the damage and then you're taking the damage from your blood sacrifice. I would maybe knock it down to 2d8 or 2d10, right? That would do it, 2d10. Just shave a little bit off. I just think I don't think it's broken. Maybe I'm not seeing something. Maybe there's some mechanic I'm not really seeing how effective it would be. It's not bad, and I really like it. I like the flavor of the tisk for tat, right? Equivalent exchange. I would just turn down that damage a touch just to make it a little more valuable to you. Maybe make the enemy think twice about hitting. I mean, the enemy doesn't know how much damage you do to yourself on the sacrifice. I get that. But it definitely has a feel of intimidation. Oh, and beyond that, they get to make a dex save or receive for no effect. Yeah, see, look at that. You do that, you take half the damage no matter what. You get to mitigate it, but you took 12 points of damage from the blood sacrifice. They make their dex save and then they take nothing, and you're like, well, I guess I saved myself 8 points of health. Yay. It's weak. Unless I'm missing something that's a little weak. So I would take that to 2d10, 2d8. It's going to take some role play on that for sure. And especially again because the dex saving throw they can save. All right, let's keep going. Keep it. It's awesome. It's just I think it needs a little more balance. Lesser One's Paranoia costs 1d10 hit points, 1 action. Choose up to 3 creatures within 30 feet. Each feels intense paranoia, as if they're flanked by invasive spirits. Each chosen target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, creatures gain a +2 bonus on attack rolls against the targets for up to 1 minute, requiring concentration from the user. So, this is a debuff. It's low level, doesn't cost much. It takes the full action of the Selemite. Up to 3 creatures. Each chosen creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature gains +2 bonus on attack rolls against the targets for up to a minute. Could you... It means everyone attacking them gets a +2 on the attack roll, right? But that's a really kludgy way to do it, is to say, I've debuffed him and someone else gets the advantage. Could you just say -2 armor? I know that's not exactly the same, but it's pretty much the same effect. And then that way the Bane detriments in the value, the numbers go on the Baned creatures, not on someone adjacent to the Baned creatures who may or may not attack them. I would do that. It's a little complicated. If I'm having to think twice about how it should work, and it's going to get forgotten. 3 turns later in the 6-person round of combat, someone shoots an arrow and it's like roll a 17, and if no one says, "Oh, you get to add a +2 to your attack bonus," they're not going to remember. Whereas the DM just has to be behind the screen doing the DM's job and being like, "Oh, well, no, their AC is not 15, it's 13 because of the Bane." Yeah. Critique. Reaper's Scythe, prerequisite 9th level. Reaper's Sickle Bane is the prerequisite. Cost 5d10 hit points, 1 action. You strike a creature within 20 feet with a chain composed of blood that attempts to wrap around the target, binding its life force to yours. The creature must succeed on a dex saving throw or be restrained for 1 minute. Oh yeah. As a bonus action, on each of your turns, you may choose to steal 2 of the creature's hit dice, which refill 2 of your blood dice. Not hit dice, blood dice are a pretty limited resource Selemites have, but it's valuable because they have so few of them. This is pretty nice. When you do so, the creature's automatically dealt damage equal to the maximum roll on 2 of their hit dice. So if they're D10, they would just take 20 damage. So, no roll, just 20. Boom. The creature may repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns to break free of the restraint, freeing themselves of the Bane's effects on a success. Yeah, so this is essentially you're locking someone down, restraining them, doing repeat damage, boom, boom, until they can use a dex save to break free. And you're pumping up your blood dice, so it's pretty nice. It's perfect to have that at the mid-level, the middle of the level trajectory for the Selemite. Level 9 is a good spot for that, and it's a decent way to get those blood dice back if you're playing the Selemite in a way that you're using blood dice pretty often. You don't have to fiddle with the blood dice so much if you don't want to. There's not all the subclasses rely on it so heavily, which I like. Reaper's Sickle, prerequisite 5th level, costs 3d10 hit points, 1 action. You strike a creature within 20 feet with a chain composed of blood that attempts to wrap around the target, binding its life force to yours. The creature must succeed on a dex saving throw or be restrained for 1 minute. As a bonus action on each of your turns, you may choose to steal 1 of the creature's hit dice, which refills 1 of your blood dice. When you do so, the creature is automatically dealt damage equal to the maximum of 1 of their hit dice. The creature may repeat the saving throw, freeing themselves on the Banes. So it's just the basic level of the Reaper, and Reaper Sickle, Reaper Scythe is the more beefed up one. So yeah, pretty cool. Sapping Vigor costs 1d8 hit points, 1 action. You call forth the life force of a creature to inflict damage upon itself. Make a melee spell attack with a reach of 5 feet. On a hit, you deal damage equal to 2 of the target's hit dice. But they roll those ones. It's not a maxed out hit dice. But yeah, it's just a little, it's almost cantrip-esque in the damage output. Yeah. And it's melee, so you do got to be pretty close with that. I might make that 15 feet. It is an action. Little ranged attack. I don't know your class well enough to know if you've already got. I think you have some other ranged attacks, but yeah, okay. It's not overpowered, that's for sure. A little on the weaker side, if I had to say so, like a B- kind of level. Shackle the Soul, prerequisite 15th level, costs 10d10 hit points, 1 bonus action. Choose a spellcaster within 30 feet. The creature must succeed on a saving throw equal to their spellcasting ability modifier as you attempt to shackle their life force to the binding physical constraints of the mortal plane. On a failed save, the creature cannot cast spells of 5th level or lower for 1 minute. Ouch. Requiring concentration from the Selemite. The creature may repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effects on the cells on a success. Yeah, it's situational, but man, it's like the Swiss Army knife of Selemite. Bear in mind, I will remind you all again, you don't get all 15 Banes and all 15 Boons. You have to pick and choose a limited supply. You're going to get about a quarter of what we've covered for Boons and a quarter for the Banes. But you're in a magic-heavy world. Yeah, this is the real thing here. Imagine shackling a demon or a devil with that. They would not like that. It would be so cool. Then when they get freed, they are going to kill you and all your generations for three generations to come. So be careful. Use with caution against demons and devils and angels. Soul Bolt. 1d8 hit points, 1 action. Make a ranged spell attack against a creature within 30 feet. On a hit, the target is dealt necrotic damage equal to the maximum roll on 1 of their hit die. So that answers my own question. Soul Bolt is the ranged version of Sapping Vigor. And I understand now it's 1 hit dice, but it's maxed, whereas the other one is 2 hit dice, but rolled. Yeah, I get what you're doing there. Again, though, it's not overpowered. It's probably a touch on the weak side. I would say, again, it's coming in like the B end of the spectrum, not the A, definitely not the A+. I consider A+, in my book, to be as strong a rating without being overpowered. Whereas like an A++ means as soon as you go A++ or A+++, you're adding extra. You need to shave off multiple things to bring it down to just really good. Shooting for anything in the A range is balanced, powerful but not overpowerful. And I think that's it, folks. Hold on, let me see here. Where's my scroll? Oh, that is it. Yes. Just checking. Yeah, that was it. Our video. I'm gonna let you go right there. Selemite class and subclasses. Hopefully, just one more video. It'll probably be an hour and 15-minute long to get it all in there. But we've been building up to this. Read over skywantsanac's dozen spells. Watch this one. You've got 15 great boons, 15 great banes, approximately. So much flavor. But now we're going to put it together, and without all this background, it'd be really hard to understand and appreciate the Selemite class. We'll be getting to that hopefully Christmas weekend. I might do it tomorrow morning, bright and early on Saturday, and then get it out so people can enjoy it on the weekend. But at any rate, thanks for spending time with me, folks. Take care.